Hello. Sorry to bother you. Can I ask you a slightly odd question?
Yeah, sure.
I'm making a podcast called Strangers on a Bench, where essentially I talk to people I don't know on benches for 10 or 15 minutes. Are you up for that? Do you want to give it a go?
Yeah, I was looking for a tree to paint.
What do you say, a tree to paint?
Yes.
Because you're a painter.
I retired and I found art. And
You found art?
And I'm not fantastic.
Maybe you are fantastic though. Who's to know?
Well, some are on the wall.
What's the nicest thing someone said about paintings, Wills?
My daughter-in-law said they're very nice. The worrying thing is when I painted flowers, my wife has said which is totally not the flower it was.
Oh, I see.
And I'm a bit fluid, so it's not botanical.
Yeah. You just let it roll.
Because watercolour is quite hard.
It is hard. The water goes everywhere.
And getting the
Hard to control it.
hard to control.
But then you have to let it go, I suppose.
I think that's the thing. We started to watch Bob Ross,
Oh, yes.
and he's fantastic.
Tell me who Bob Ross is.
He's passed away now. He's an American oil paint artist. He's on television, The Joy of Painting, and it's so relaxing. He's got such a gorgeous voice, and his whole theme is that you can do it. You're an artist. So
You are an artist.
yeah, he did, and to a degree, he's right.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you're happy,
Yeah.
and if you enjoy something, things that you go and look at and you think that's rubbish. So at least
They enjoyed it though.
some shows we go to, my wife said, well, yours are better than hers.
There you go.
She was charging upwards of 80 to 200 pounds, so I thought that can't be bad, can it?
Maybe, would you charge for a painting of yours?
No.
No.
I don't think I could sell it because I've given a few away and I don't like doing it.
Oh, giving them away?
Yeah.
Oh, I see, you like holding on to them.
Yes.
That's the problem. Not that you
They're
couldn't
my
se-
treasures.
Not that you couldn't sell them because people
No.
wouldn't buy them, but because you just don't want to give them away.
Because sometimes you look back and you think, gosh, that's good.
When you started your painting journey, do you remember what kicked you off? And do you remember the first one?
It was Bob Ross.
It was Bob Ross.
And I invested in a load of oil paints. But first of all, my wife doesn't like the smell. And secondly, they are quite messy. And he's got a massive studio, and when he's cleaning his brushes, he flaps them around, and she says, you're not doing that in the kitchen. So I gave that up and thought, I'll try watercolour, and I fell in love with it. And sometimes you just put a bit of water on. Some colours are better than others, but you can just touch it and it explodes. And it does what it likes, and it can form like a petal. You get the light and the dark, and you haven't done anything. Wow, I love that. So,
I really like that as a small touch, but
Just
a big explosion.
yeah.
Maybe that's what we're all like, you know, light touches can make big explosions.
So yours is obviously
Talking on a bench.
talking on
But
a
you
bench
know
with
what?
strangers.
You know what? Funny enough, I also am a keen watercolour person myself.
Oh, right.
But here's the thing, I'm really, really bad. I've got no talent whatsoever. I never have, but I've always, it's one of my kind of things I do to relax.
Yes, it is.
And so I totally understand everything you're saying about watercolours. And I like giving them away because mine are not good enough to keep for myself to look at. And I always do small ones just so it doesn't impose too much. They don't feel they've got to keep something massive.
I started off not massive, but I'm getting smaller.
Oh.
Yeah, and I quite enjoy that.
How small can you go?
Well, I don't know. I've seen people doing sort of postage stamp size, and I think, nah, that's a bit too.
The problem with that watercolours is one false move and then it's over.
Yeah, but then,
I think you can start again.
was it Bob Ross says we don't make mistakes, we have happy little accidents.
What are the feelings you get? Can you try and describe the feeling mid brushstroke?
You're concentrating totally on what you're doing, 100%. And I think that just takes me away. Or you're aiming to do a line and it goes wrong, but you think, oh, that'll do. I'll just put that in. I'll make the tree in a windswept area, so I'll do all the branches falling out. And it's just that, go with the flow. Just, I find it so relaxing.
Beautiful. What was occupying this space before this all happened? So work? I mean,
Work,
so this is...
yes. I mean, I was paid to go away. I got redundancy.
So you got paid to go away?
Go away.
I've not heard of that job. Was that by your wife?
I always think it's polite, if somebody pays you to go away, go away.
Go away.
Don't refuse it, just
Got
take
sent
it.
away.
But the job was going in within a couple of years, and it did do. I just got paid to go away quicker. So I thought, yeah, why not? And then the pandemic hit, so we thought, well, we can manage. We're not going on cruises. And then I can be where I want to be. I can talk to you and not think, oh gosh, I've got to be somewhere.
That's the magic, isn't it? Do you look back and, maybe this is a bit of an unfair question in a way because you can't do anything about it now, but now that you have this freedom, are you sad that you didn't start doing watercolours 20 years ago or 30 years ago, 40 years ago, whatever?
No, not really, because I think that everything has its time. And we had my son and we were raising him, and we put a lot of effort into that, and that's glorious. Whatever will be, will be. What's going to happen today will happen today, so just let it flow.
As it's happening right now.
Yeah.
That's so lovely. We're going to get onto your sub. So the thing is, the way this works is there's a kind of start question and an end question that everybody gets, and then everything in the middle just happens as it happens. But I should ask you this first question, and you've planted lots of seeds anyway, we'll get to. But the first question is do you have a favourite day of the week?
Now?
Yeah.
No, because
you're pure freedom.
Sometimes I don't know what day of
it
the week it is. We have a calendar in the kitchen, and sometimes I thought it was Sunday and it wasn't. And you're planning to think, oh, we're doing that tomorrow, but hold on, it's only Thursday. So no, I don't now. And I'd never understood why, when you retired, you used to get a watch or a clock. I didn't understand the symbolism of it.
Is that a thing?
Not now.
That was a thing?
It was a thing.
As in like a big clock?
It used to be.
Wow.
And then it went down to the watches. But it was purely because you're now the master of your own time.
Or you can see it in a kind of sinister light and the time's kind of running.
Well, yeah.
You've only got a limited amount of this and you've got to look at it the whole time now.
Watch the clock tick by, but yes, no.
So I'm just going to ask, when you left, did you get anything? Were you given anything?
No, because I couldn't even speak to my boss or anything because the pandemic came on, and as soon as the restrictions hit was when I was going. So generally you would have had a handover and had a bit of a ceremony. Couldn't do any of that at all. So it felt a little bit...
That's tough, isn't it?
I didn't have a sort of demarcation point per se.
How long were you working at the place you were working for?
36 years.
Okay, well that's deserving. That's like my whole lifetime, basically. What would you... Let's imagine the ceremony is now, and you can say a few words. What would you have liked to have said to your fellow colleagues?
I would just say, I'm glad I'm going. When I first started, it was fantastic. But year after year, it's got progressively not a nice environment. And I'm glad I'm going. I wish you all well. And
I quite like you said it's getting worse and worse. But good luck.
yeah, I hope you can survive it.
Do you remember that moment of the last day of you doing this job? And
yeah, I sort of couldn't believe it, and I got a phone call from the big boss, and I thought, oh, drat. Sorry, we can't let you go. And he did phone up and just say thank you very much, which was nice. But my heart was going, and I thought, oh my goodness me, it's just a joke, April Fool, got you.
Were there any kind of emotional moments on the last day? Any swellings of the heart?
No, because I couldn't really talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And it was just lock the door when you go. So I was all by myself, and it was a really weird, all right. It was a completely, you go out the building, you thought, no more.
Yeah.
And it was
It's sad that would have been alone. I mean, it's such a funny end. I suppose you walked in there alone on your first day.
It was sort of, but
you walk out alone.
Not quite as strange. When my son was born, it was 9:30 on an evening, and I didn't know what was going to happen. She'd been in hospital for a few weeks, but when he was born and everything, and the midwife says, "Right, off you go." I think, what do I do now? It was that bereft feeling.
So you were sent out of the hospital?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Why though?
Well, because she was being taken up to the ward. It was gone 10:30, 11 o'clock by then. You know, they're going to settle her in, and I was surplus to requirements.
So this was a similar feeling to
I was
leaving the
surplus
job.
to requirements then. I no longer have a job, which is strange in one way, but nice in the other. It takes a little bit of getting used to. I volunteer at a coffee shop at church, so I've got a few days where there's a structure.
Yeah. Can I ask what your job was?
It was British Telecom, but it was on the inside, and that was being taken over by technology.
Okay.
So it's completely gone now.
Yeah. Were you often going from place to place somewhere? Or
I was going from exchange to exchange, but then I had a condition which meant I couldn't drive. So I said I'd go on my bike to local exchanges, but that was getting more tiring.
The last of that age, I suppose, really.
Yeah,
In a way.
I think so, yeah. You generally used to work in a group, and you had a camaraderie, and that sort of went to a degree, you know. So
shared work is the
you always
the
had
joy of it, isn't it?
Yes.
I suppose. Were there any that we would consider like emergencies? Anyone that you're like, we've got to go now because this is X, and X?
Not in that respect, no. But sometimes you went on a night, and in the exchanges, there's always some little noises coming on, some little clatters, and then it's quiet. But in the middle of the night, it's a different entity, and you're doing something. All of a sudden, this clatter comes up, and it makes your heart go. Because what was that?
Can you tell me what I'm being silly here, but what is an exchange?
A telephone exchange it was where your telephone line was originating from.
I see.
You would have your connection point here, and you live over there, so you'd run a wire to take it to your position.
Yeah.
Then if you moved, somebody would have to go and move a wire over there. It was all...
So you've moved a lot of wires in your time?
Moved a lot of wires. It's all done now electronically.
You facilitated a lot of phone calls.
Yes, yeah. I mean, but...
It's a funny thought.
One of the strangest and frighteningest things is that when I first started, we had to take down some of the old telegraph poles. And they were huge.
Yeah.
Because the wires in those days went over the tops of the buildings. So in York, when you're wandering around, you see some of the tall 3-storey buildings or 4-storey buildings, and the poles, you couldn't put your arms around the bottom of them. And they were huge right at the top, and really, it is a long way up there.
Yeah, oh God. Was it a don't look down kind of scenario?
Sort of scenario. Concentrate on what you were doing.
Talk to me about your son. So we were in the ward when we last left. When we last
I was the first one to see him. Yeah.
So you were sent away somewhere, and where did you go when you were sent away? Whilst
I just went home and sat down, and
do you remember what you did at home?
nothing, because when you've had such a high, it was just waiting. You were just sat there. It's like that Forrest Gump moment, where he sat on the bench. And to be fair, I've done a lot of that. I didn't realise that was going to be a big part of our lives. Waiting, sat on benches.
Oh, okay. Well, why has there been so much waiting?
He's doing this, so I'll wait here.
Oh, I see. Of course.
We're taking him there to do this. I'll sit down and wait for it.
So I have 2 daughters.
There you go.
And of course you do a lot of waiting.
You don't think about it. And even now, when we went to do his apartment, can you just wait a minute? I thought, well, why not?
Born to do it. I'm ready.
I've got practice. Yeah. There's one thing I'm good at. Is
waiting. How does one wait well, do you think? What are the great core principles of waiting well?
Finding something and occupying. And I like looking at things. Unfortunately, they thought we were going to be grandparents, but that didn't turn out. It was an ectopic pregnancy. So we ended up in the hospital, and I was waiting. once again in hospital. He was upstairs with his wife, my daughter-in-law, and I was at Leeds, and I just went out for a walk, and it was a cemetery, and I adored looking at all the jobs that have gone, saddle makers, tool makers, etc. And this massive monument to this tax collector. I thought, really? People liked him? Or did they like him? Was it just something they had to do? And strangely enough, I found this little gravestone, and I thought, what's that? And it was a pallet. And it just said his name, which I can't quite recall, and then from friends. 1768. I thought, well, that must have cost a lot of money. And I've tried and tried, and I can't find anything. So I don't think he was a prolific artist. He wasn't a prominent artist, but he had friends who liked him enough. That would have been a significant investment, a gravestone and a plot.
That's so lovely.
So I think, gosh, yeah. So yeah, there was some goodness out of
Yeah.
waiting in the hospital.
It's wonderful to think that that gesture made, 250 odd years ago
Had an effect.
has an effect, and still you look at it now and you go, oh, look at how wonderful this person's friends.
They were true
came
friends. And I
together.
think the other ones were just, well, yeah, I'm a counsellor, I'd better put something on there. I'll give my £20 and there you go.
It's a funny thought. I'm guessing the tax collector that you mentioned before, they just paid more to have a bigger tomb.
Well, yeah, it was a monolith.
Which is quite funny, really.
It is.
It's like the equivalent. I hope you don't have one. If you do, I apologise. They're having a kind of 4x4 car, a massive car. It's like, well, great, you've got a massive car, but it's exactly the same as another car.
Exactly. So.
that goes from here to there. It's the same as a gravestone. You're still dead, but someone's paid more. To have a slightly taller one.
I know. It's
absolute madness, isn't it? So being a father for you has been a lot of waiting.
It's been the best time.
But it's been great. It's very lovely to hear you. It's very lovely to hear someone. I want to talk to you a bit more about that. I think I asked you about, if you regretted not painting earlier. You said, well, I was working obviously and also very dedicated to being a father. Is there a reason why you were more dedicated? You made a point of being dedicated. Was there any particular anything behind that?
I went to 15 schools and I have no education per se. I don't have written qualifications. And we moved from south to north and the curriculum was completely different. And it's just, you might as well have asked me anything. I wouldn't have known.
It's a different language almost.
More or less. Yeah. So I vowed if we did have a child that we would be static, so he could have an education, and that we'd invest in it. And so every weekend we went somewhere. My wife had to work, so she took him on the weekdays, I took him on the weekends. We always did something, and we had a fantastic time. He got interested in things. He was quite shy, and I've always been interested in history. We went to English heritage sites, and there was groups there doing reenactments, and we joined one. Such a good father and son time. I think everybody should really do lots of things and read to your child. We read all the time, and there's some of the joyous moments. He's just sat in bed reading.
It is, yeah.
It's the best thing that's happened.
Yeah.
So I've got absolutely. He's a teacher now. So
fantastic. So you were moved around a lot as a kid.
Yes.
I'm guessing against your will. You didn't want to move around.
Sometimes I just got a 2 weeks notice. Yeah. Oh, we're moving. I used to hate that. Oh, you'll soon make friends. And you do to a degree. But did you want to? I sort of had friends.
Yeah.
And I remember the last time I only had 2 weeks notice and I couldn't bring it myself to say to anybody because I thought, not again, I can't do this anymore.
Oh.
They just kept moving because they changed jobs all the time. It's just nomadic,
Did you ever kind of talk to your parents about this
No, we had a sort of disconnect, really.
Yeah.
I mean, and we still do. I haven't spoken to them for 6 months.
Your parents still alive?
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that's a good going.
It is, to be fair.
May I ask how old they are?
My mum is 90 next year. But they've never been that bothered. And if we go, we go. If we don't, we don't. So at the moment we've had a lot on, so we don't. And I know it sounds a bit harsh, but, you know.
It's okay, it's just what happens.
It is what it is, you know. Not every family is
No, that's it.
close. You know.
So you made, at some point,
A conscious decision.
along this journey of being moved around everywhere, you thought, I'm not going to do this to my child.
No.
Is there anything else in particular you've done especially that you didn't have?
Time. I think when you're going on about the cars and the big, that's money, basically. And not everybody has a lot of money, but you don't need a lot of money. I'm sure your daughters would rather have you than, I don't know how old they are now, but maybe they would prefer
Not sure, actually.
a nice holiday.
Not sure. Yeah, they're 10 and 12. If I said
Oh,
you
they're
could,
still...
if I said
Oh,
you could
God.
spend a day with me, or I could give you, £20 to go to the shop, I think they'd probably pick the £20. But
In the show knowledge, you can
Yeah.
see you afterwards. So,
yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah, we do spend a lot of time together. So, going back to your being moved around a lot, I'm guessing at a certain age you were free of your parents.
15.
15.
They moved and sort of once again said, do you want to come or you don't have to? I thought, well,
You finally said, "Well, okay."
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So that was the time you were finally allowed to say no.
Yeah, I just said I'll stay where I am.
So where was that?
It was here.
Okay. And they left you to do what? Were you with anyone else? I mean,
Well,
at 15,
for a
that's still
time
pretty
I
young.
was my girlfriend, who is now my wife. Who is
At the time.
yeah, so we've been married
Crikey.
now for 45 years, coming up this year. So her parents put me up for a little while, so I got sorted. But once again, we've got the job. You're the last person to know. We've told the gas, the electrics. We'll tell you now.
And what was that moment like for you? That them, finally.
I think it was
going?
sort of finals. Yeah, I think, yeah, off you go. Do it. Like.
Yeah. And then so a new life started for you at 15.
Yes, I managed to find somebody who saw something in me and put up with me for 45
Hey,
years.
let's talk about it. I'm just going to put some sock in my neck because I feel like it's going. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose she should be up for beatification, but that might be a bit.
So
if anyone deserves it.
Yeah. Wow. So 50. I was. You know what's funny about this is that literally, my eldest daughter goes to school,
Yeah.
and she's 12. She was telling me the other day about a couple of 12-year-olds in her year. A girlfriend and a boyfriend, age 12. They had split up today, and that was quite a dramatic thing for her class or year or whatever. And I was saying, look, mate, it's no big deal. I mean, of all the different partnerships I've known, which there's so many now, I can only think of one where they got together as teenagers who are now still together.
Well, I'm pleased I've altered that for you. And now you can
And now
say,
I've got
I know
two. And so it's funny
That's
that
100%.
it's funny that I say this only a couple of days ago, that the world would provide me with someone who's met their wife at age 15.
We met around about 15 because I'd started to go out then and...
When you say out, you mean to what? To pubs, to places?
Well, yeah, it was a different environment.
Sure.
Then. When we went to the first nightclub, you had to have a 3-piece suit.
Oh, wow.
Otherwise you wouldn't be allowed in.
Did you have one at 15?
No, but I went and bought one.
Oh, yeah.
But, just that was... You
That's
weren't getting
amazing.
in.
Unless you had the suit.
Yeah.
Wow. There's a lot of smart people in that club.
Well, you're decently dressed, yeah. I thought it was quite nice, really. Maybe we should bring that back.
Maybe. That's not a bad idea.
Put a bit of effort
Yeah, it's
into
a
it,
good
guys,
point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it's
expect the lady to put a bit of effort
That's
in.
a really good point.
Do the
actually.
same thing.
I don't mind that.
No.
As long as the suits were fairly accessible.
Yeah, you didn't have to...
But ideally, yeah.
Savile Row
Yeah,
type
yeah, exactly, yeah.
I thought it was quite cute.
Yeah,
really.
I agree. So you got the suit and you
Got the suit
Yeah.
out and about there, and I think...
Were you wearing it every day, the suit?
No, just for the,
just
I
going
was
out.
kept for the, yeah. I used to work on a farm. I used to work with animals, so there was an aroma which you didn't want to pass on to your best. You see, well, I'm going back to the times when we had a bath once a week.
Yeah.
That was norm. There wasn't showers.
Yeah.
It's just weird that in my lifetime.
And only once a
Things
week.
have
Would you really milk that bath when you had it? I mean, it'd be
Well,
like a really
sometimes
long one.
if your relations were over, it was who goes in first. You know, and then sometimes you're the third one in. Or you
Not
didn't
quite
get
as warm.
much time to play with the action man with his diving suit in the bath because it got cold. You know, it's a weird world. But now you expect everyone to have a shower. But, that was a
very different time. So you're 15. You're working on a farm at the time.
Yeah.
You're wandering about the place, just out and about,
Yeah.
and you meet your wife how?
Well, we went to Cat's Whiskers, which is a nightclub, which is now Mecca. The bingo place, not.
Yeah, actually Mecca. Yeah. Mecca bingo.
And went there a couple of times and.
Cat's Whiskers.
Cat's Whiskers. Big dance floor, small dance floor. Yeah, it was nice.
And you met. Can you remember the exact moment you met?
Yes. Come Back My Love, Don't Go Away by Darts, dancing.
So is that the name of the song?
Yeah.
Oh, right, sorry. Okay, got it now.
And I remember it well. And danced to that, we met up, we arranged to meet the following Saturday. And I keep teasing her about this, but I went and she was dancing with somebody else. So I just walked away and she came running after me and that was it,
Oh, that's very sweet.
isn't it?
So she saw you.
Well, she was with some friends.
Yeah, okay.
Somebody said, do you fancy a dance? So she'd gone up with
Oh,
her
okay,
friends and danced.
that's
So,
good.
yeah.
But so you started walking away when you saw this.
Well, yeah, I just thought, well, that's...
Yeah. But so lucky that she saw you walking away.
Well, yeah, so that's fate, is it?
You know, if someone, you know, some
Look,
random
yeah.
person walked across, you know, with a
Didn't
large
say.
trolley
Yeah,
and blocked the sight of your wife to you walking away,
that's life, though.
different life.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, just that tiny little split second. But yeah, that was cool. But yes. And from there on, it's been lovely.
That's a good choice of words there.
Well, yeah,
It would be lovely. There's probably been lots of other things as well. In the, you know, how?
as is everybody.
Yeah. When did you get engaged?
We got engaged the same time as Prince Charles.
Was it inspired by Prince Charles?
Well,
Was
I
it
don't
like?
know- I don't know if
Did you read the news? You think, hang on, he's got an idea there.
No, I don't know which one it was really. Maybe he was inspired.
It's a good point.
Because we got married just round about the same time. Only you couldn't buy peppermints in a little tin with our picture on it. I don't know why not, really. You should have been allowed to have this souvenir.
You should have had your own plates.
Yeah, or cups, you know.
So how old were you when you got married?
I was, that's a tricky one. It was a day after my 21st birthday.
Wow. Big birthday moment.
Yeah. Thinking about the speech I was going to have to give, yes.
Oh, of course. Do you remember? Would you remember much of your speech?
No, it's rubbish. Well, in essence, in those days, the groom just thanked everybody and
That was that.
that was that really. It wasn't, I mean, when my son got married, he gave his speech and it was a lovely oration, which you would expect from him, really.
Yeah. Did you speak at your son's wedding?
I did.
How was that for you?
It was fine. He gave me free rein. Although the lady officiating said, I've heard that poem a lot of times, but never quite like that.
Oh, right.
So I'm
What did he
taking
do?
that as a compliment.
Did he do an interpretive dance or something? Why did she
No,
say
but
that?
I put excerpts into the poem relating to our relationship. And I even put a few extra.
So you
little
jazzed
things.
it up.
So I jazzed it up a little bit.
You're allowed to do what you want, you know?
You know, it's
At
a
least
one time.
It's your own child.
It
Um,
was quite funny.
So, is there anything particular from your wedding day that you remember, even though it's a small memory, like something that, like a passing moment? It wasn't a kind of, not one of the big moments. Anything that stands out from your wedding day?
In truth?
particular? Yeah.
Turning round and seeing her coming towards me. in the church. That's quite special, as you can hear. So it's still bringing back a lovely memory. Can't beat that.
Well, it sounds idyllic. How does one have such a successful relationship, do you think? What's been the key? How's it work?
I think you can lose it a little bit. It's talking. So I hope you go back and say to your good lady, I met this really interesting guy. First person you would tell would be. So if anything happens, first person you would tell would be.
Yeah. That's a lovely
your partner.
one. Yeah.
Just keep that going, because hopefully we're all moving forward to something. So if you're taking somebody with you, you've got to take them with you.
That's such a nice way of thinking about it as well. First person you would tell. I really like that. Yeah. And it's very simple, but yeah, profound and where do you? It's important we don't. I mean, unless of course it is complete, utter joy, wall to wall. It's important to take the opposite sometimes. Where do you clash heads? What are the difficulties?
There hasn't been a great deal, to be fair. I think we're quite compatible. I'm really easygoing. My granddad, my father's dad, he was quite a character, but my nan was in charge. They were from a mining community, Calderee, from County Durham. You know, you didn't mess with him.
Yeah.
But my nan rode the roost. So if he came home, there's the money, he got his pocket money, that's it. And we sort of lived our thing like that, monetary-wise. I leave my wife to be in charge of that, and that's just a monetary thing. But you know, she lets me do what I want to do, and she does the garden. We back each other up on our hobbies and what we like in life. But we weren't that bothered. We didn't want a new car or fancy things. And really, we were just happy as we were, and it was just great. Yeah, I think we're just both sort of easygoing, and as long as you've got somebody who you can go home and hug and cry on or laugh with, then what more do you want? You know.
Can you think of a point in your life where you've been especially grateful for having your wife nearby?
When my son was poorly, yes. Because it takes two to deal with things like that, I think.
Can I ask how long he was poorly for and how that went?
It was an appendix, and they'd missed it. And we'd actually been into hospital, and they sent him out, and they still missed the bloody thing. But he had to have a major operation because it perforated and it was close. But that's over now, he's there.
Great, that's good. Well, how old was he when that was happening?
He was about 15. Yeah, now I mean he's 6'5" and massive. I'm looking up to him like that. You know, it's just weird. You know, I don't know if you'll be the same with your daughters. But
yeah, well, one of my daughters is quite tall already, so it's quite funny. But I don't know why I thought this the other day, but I was with my eldest daughter and I was thinking, God, you really are just a normal-sized human being now, and there were so many years where I was just carrying you around.
yeah.
It seems like a kind of alien prospect now. Like, what was that time when that was possible? Kind of, when was that? Well, how did it happen? You know,
there's no way anymore. But yes,
I was just thinking of some kind of apparatus that would allow you or me to carry our children just for a brief while, just to kind of have the fond memories of carrying the child. So I don't know what this would look like, but you know, some kind of contraption where it would look like you're kind of bearing some of the weight, but not all of it, obviously, because you couldn't do it.
I think it should be the other way around.
Yeah.
I'm probably getting close to that, to be fair. But yes, but enjoy your time. That's the best time.
Yeah. Was life at all different after that moment with him and the appendix? Were you even more appreciative of the time you had, you know?
Well, you got the initial, is that it? Is there going to be anything else? But once you got through all that, I think you just got to, close that book and carry on a bit and move on, and hopefully you don't have to go back to it and just open the pages again. Yes, it was bad for us at the time, but a lot of people have put up with a lot worse, so we could cope with it. And we were together, and there was 3 of us. We're a little, well, there's 4 now with his wife, so we're a nice little entity.
What was it like meeting her for the first time?
Frightening.
Frightening because you wanted to make a good impression, or you kind of...
No, but because you're probably aware, but if you get a phone call at 7 o'clock or so in the morning, you're sort of thinking, that's not a good phone call. And when they say, sit down, Dad, I've got some news, thinking, oh gosh, no, what now? What's going to happen? Oh, I'm getting engaged.
Was that 7 in the morning?
Yeah.
That phone call?
Oh, that's great, lovely.
Yeah.
Go for it.
That was a good one. That was a rare good 7 in the morning call.
Yeah, no, she's a lovely girl.
Did you feel any pressure meeting her for the first time to be kind of,
Well, yes, because she's from Canada, so she's not got any parents here as well. The father isn't in the picture, so I'm conscious we're in-laws, but we don't want to be, how far do you go? And there was initially this thing, do I hug? Do I not hug? So if I don't hug, she's thinking, ooh, what's wrong with me? Sometimes you think, I can't win this argument.
Yeah. So what did you choose in the end in terms of hug or not hug?
I'm a bit of a hugger, to be fair, but just sort of little bits, That's what the strangeness in life now. We come from a family up north, and people used to come into the house, and as I came into your house, and flick the kettle on and come and sit down and have a chat, and you'd have a little hug, and there was no connotations to that. But nowadays, there's connotations to it. So you, as a man as well, you've got to be aware. You can't just, not that I go to hug strange women, but it's, even if you say hello and a little thing like that and you goodbye, and it doesn't mean anything, but it does nowadays.
Yeah.
I think that's a shame as well.
It's complicated, isn't it? It's really complicated. It's always tricky comparing ages, isn't it, really?
It is. There's always so many other things. But
there's so many factors at play.
Yes.
But I suppose even in my lifetime, I feel like so many of the central tenets of community are weakening or going.
Yeah.
And that's not about the people involved. No one's woken up and go, I want to have less community. It's government, it's funding, it's changing lifestyles and how we live. For instance, just in terms of pubs closing at an alarming rate is a great example of that.
I think so, but I do think that people are less caring of other people. I don't know you, so I don't have to care about you. Don't know that guy that he's, if he trips up, he can sort himself out.
Yeah. But is that not the byproduct of not having as many of these spaces as we once did?
There is that, but then sometimes somebody tripped over, so I went to help them, and you've got to be careful because you might do some damage, and it's just falling over.
Yeah.
Fear of, if I help this lady up, will she accuse me of? I think that shouldn't be your first thought.
Yeah, of course. No, of course.
Although saying that, I went on a chainsaw course, and they said, in the event that you chop your leg off, that really that's not the first thing I should do.
Did you really go to chainsaw course?
Yeah, you got to. Yeah.
What do you mean you've got to? For your job?
For you to have a proper chainsaw, you've got to.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I got it. Sorry.
Yeah, it was through work, but yeah, you're supposed to be able to
chainsaw course.
Know how to deal with it. Yeah.
Are there any more courses to come for you? Anything you're keen to learn? Apart from, of course, you've got your watercolours.
No, I'm quite happy, I think.
You do seem quite happy.
Yeah,
you do seem very content.
Yeah, if you came and said here's £10,000, I'll say, well, I'm fine, but see if we can do something else,
So what would you do if let's imagine some bandits drive past us with bags of cash and they drop one out the back, and in the back is £10,000 in front of us right now. We both look at it and I say, it's yours. You deserve it today for talking to me on a bench. What are you going to do with that £10,000 then?
Well, I'd like to say, I've got a son, you've got daughters. I wouldn't use it myself, but it could do a lot for my son. And I know that's the wrong thing to say.
Is there anything you would do with it personally, or would you just give it all to son?
I can't do that.
Yeah.
Not bothered. Yeah.
Just think of all the,
You'd waste it.
To think of all the
It'd
watercolours
be
you buy.
wasted. I know, but I've got plenty enough. Bonnie lad, give it. You take it. Then the police would come. All right.
Yeah. just to be
Why
a
didn't
guy.
you take it?
And we both get in trouble. So you're content?
I'm more than happy.
Yeah.
And I hope you are too.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I don't normally start talking to people as early as we have.
I'm sort of a morning person. So I get to the afternoon, I'm, no good. Well, I think when I used to work on a farm, it's a morning thing. You get your
Of
job
course. Do you have a favourite farmyard animal?
done. Cows. I love cows. I like sheep. I went to try some new aftershave, trying to get a new image going
Sorry, when was this? Recently?
since I've been retired.
Oh, okay.
So and I went to this place and she said, "What's your favourite scent? What do you like smelling?" And I said, "Sheep." And she looked at me, right, this is weird. I just love the smell.
Did you open up a special
They didn't
drawer?
actually have anything for me, strangely enough. Yeah.
No, maybe they're missing a trick there.
I love the smell of the wool, the lanolin.
You see, that sounds like a niche enterprise. You could start your own perfumery with
But the-
farmyard animal perfumery. And just, for fellow people that want to smell sheep.
But I don't know if you've ever seen sheep shearing.
I have.
And the jeans and that, they get that from the lanolin.
Yeah.
And I just love that smell.
Yeah. My father was a sheep farmer.
There we go.
So
You'll know.
I know that smell very well.
And I think smells take you back straight away in a millisecond
They do, don't they?
to something. I like the smell of cow dung, and it just takes me back to when we used to do the milking and obscurely being peed on by the cows because they were higher up in the parlour, and it was cold, and you were checking for mastitis and rubbing them, and it's activated and tails went up. And, oh, thank you. At least it's warm. Bloody cold out there. So, yeah, I just love.
Oh. What else do you like about them?
They're just so calm. And I just like to look at them, and you can look at them and like, you're not so good. Your eyes, your nose, you can see something wrong, they're limping a little bit, and they want care, they want to be looked after. And they weren't just sheep, they weren't money in the bank, they were more.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a way of life, it's not a job.
Yeah. How long can you look at a cow for? If you see a cow in a field, do you stop and stare?
Me, I can just sit there and let them do their thing and I'm doing my thing.
How do you feel about walking? Sometimes as I've got older and you walk through a field of cows, you get the odd news story of a kind of, they've trampled certain people to death and stuff. And they're obviously a wonderful sight to behold. But then you also realise just how enormous they are and how much kind of force they can have.
Yeah. The one thing about them we've got to respect is that they're inquisitive. And that's all it is, really. If it's a one cow in a field, I'm thinking that's a bull. So I might not go in there. If there's a few there, they might want to come up and they'll have a bit of a nudge, but as long as it hasn't got horns, let it nudge a little bit, it don't matter. When they first came out with the big round bales, and they didn't have all the tools to go with it, so they used to get the spike, take it into the fold yard, and then you'd have to cut the string, the bale of twine that went round it, and then you'd have to roll it out. So the two of us rolling it out, twisting it, rolling it out. And they thought, oh, this is good fun. So you're trying to push it and roll it out one side, and there's them the other side. Oh, I'll have a bit of a happy.
That's lovely. I was going to ask, did you have any particular animal, like as in one animal on the farm you got close to? or you felt a kind of particular closeness to?
They were getting the parlour redone, so we had to have an outside tin thing, and had this one gorgeous lady. She was getting past her prime. She had really pendulous teeth, which were hard to get the cluster on. And one of them she had a wart on, and it kept popping off. And she had come to the same place. She always used to come to me, same place. Creatures of habit. But bless her, you know. She used to like a little bit of a rub, little cuddle. So yes. Yeah, it's funny what sticks in your mind, isn't it? Yeah,
that's lovely. I'm going to ask you three more questions, and right. I'm going to let you get on with your life.
Thank you.
I like to do a thing where I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, but here's the task.
I don't think I'll need to. But...
Okay. The task is to think back to a scene in your life that you can picture in the most detail. It doesn't have to be kind of a dramatic moment. It could be any moment at any time. It's just something you remember really well from the past. And I was wondering if you could try and describe that place and that moment to me, whatever first comes into your head.
So that's Northumberland and Bamburgh, Castle and Beach. And the tide is a long way back. And you're looking onto it, you can see Farne Islands to the right, you can see Lindisfarne and Holy Island to the left. And sort of in front of us, where the sea has gone back, there's little areas where the sand has formed delves and the water in there. It's a hot day. And it's, you put your feet in and it's just nice and warm and glorious. And you're there building all sorts of sand animals, anything that you want. Do a fish, an octopus. We're not just doing castles. And it's such a glorious time. Perfect, absolutely perfect. And you couldn't ask for a better view. Have you been?
To Bamburgh Castle? No, I haven't.
Please do go. Take those daughters.
It's a great idea.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, lovely.
I'll do it. Do you have any great visions for what your funeral would look like?
It's up to my son. I would like my ashes spread somewhere near Dunstanburgh Castle. Failing that...
Any part of it in particular?
No, it's a lovely walkway.
Just anywhere near it, it's fine.
I love rock pooling. They don't, strangely enough.
Okay.
I brought up a child up who doesn't like rock pooling. I've obviously done something wrong.
It's still time.
we did go up last year. He wanted to show her where he spent his childhood. And there's me rock pooling and playing around on the sand. And there's them two stood there. Are we going, Dad? I think things have reversed. Something really...
Yeah. Well, look, big touch wood here, but I'm certain it will skip a generation, and a grandchild will be the
and
one
then we
that's
can
into
spend
it.
all the time rock pooling. They can do what they like.
And then you'll have a rock pooling friend.
Yeah.
So ashes scattered.
Either there or a tree dedicated. I like trees. You should get to know trees. Do nothing else. Get to know them. Look how it's growing. Why is it growing like that? And that one's, they're all different. Every single one is different.
And as soon as you think about them, as soon as you start noticing them, you notice so much.
You notice so much. That's why when you're painting them, you think, oh, that's gone wrong. Oh, no, it hasn't, because branches don't grow straight.
Completely.
There's a reason for that. So.
Do you have a particular tree in your life that's significant? As in one stand?
No, not really.
You would like one planted for you?
There's York Arboretum. You can go and have a look and find one, and they'll put a plaque on it.
What would you like? If a plaque was written for you, and you can have your name and then a handful of words that you've written, what would you say on that plaque?
Just basically, we've devoted our lives, my wife and my son, really. I haven't achieved great things, but not too bad.
Well, I think it's a great achievement.
Thank you very much. I mean, I haven't altered the world.
What is an achievement other than
I've got a happy boy.
Yeah, intending to do things that make people happier because of it and doing it. Well, that's an achievement.
32-year-old and I got a hug, so I'm pleased, And I hope you still get many more.
Oh yeah. Well, only one of my children hugs me. The other one hates it.
Yeah, it'll come.
It'll come.
It'll come back.
Well, listen, I've really, really enjoyed talking to you.
I've enjoyed talking to you as well.
I'm pleased that chance brought us together.
Nice to meet you. And please,
yes,
do try and get to Northumberland.
I will.
With your two daughters. You'll really, really enjoy it.
I'll do that. It's a promise. Yeah. Okay. Well, we've reached the last question, right. Which is, what are you going to do next?
No?
However you want to answer the question.
I'm going to go for a drink and then come back and paint a tree.
Well, I hope it's a lovely tree, and I really enjoyed talking to you.
And me too, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'm glad we've met.
I'm glad too.
Painting stories round my eyes, I got rings just like a tree. Trunk full of tales that ain't been told, on a pocket full of seeds. Some are red and some are so blue, might as well be green. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Looking down the barrel of each bough, more crooked and kinked. Don't pay no mind, 'cause the crow don't fly as straight as you might think. Never ever have I seen a branch grow straight, why would I want it to? Oh my, oh my, oh my. Couldn't miss it if you tried. Got love wrapped round my heart like rings of a tree. Like a bird of prey, but it don't bother me much. Got things in my head that it can't kill, and dreams it'll never catch. Well, ain't it funny what sticks in your mind after all this time? Oh my. My, oh my, couldn't miss it if you tried. Got life growing round my bones like rings of a tree. Got stories round my eyes like rings of a tree. Got love wrapped round my heart like rings